On May 29, 2015, around 1:30 a.m. on the north side of Chicago. A woman is in a car with her father on Lawrence and Winthrop in the Uptown neighborhood when she notices a newer model car traveling in reverse on Lawrence Avenue coming from Kenmore Avenue with the rear driver's side door open. The car then reversed direction on Lawrence and turned back down Kenmore. As the woman and her father reached the intersection on Kenmore, they heard gunshots and saw a man running toward the car she had just seen with the back door open. The car then reversed again and went through an alley where it disappeared. Shaquan Thomas had just been shot multiple times in the back, and he was later pronounced dead. He's better known, of course, as Young Papy.
Oh, shit. As soon as they said the north side and Winthrop and Lawrence, I'm like, I think they talking about Pappy, but I ain't said Young Papy. Do your homework on Young Papy, shorty. Now, there's a lot of rumors about Young Papy getting killed. You know what I'm saying? I heard a lot of it. And the number one rumor is what this video is about. The police set it up and the police let it happen. And the police made sure that the person who did it ain't get caught. Because the police on the north side, they hated Young Papy. You got to understand the north side is not, the north side got like maybe 2 or 3 hoods. The north side is not filled with hoods. The north side is downtown and a lot of white people around these hoods. You see what I'm saying? So you 10 minutes away from nice neighborhoods with million dollar houses and shit. But you right down the street where niggas getting whacked. And Young Papy was one of them niggas. He was rapping, he was clapping. He was a real menace to society out there, boy. You hear me? And the police hated that nigga. So I wouldn't be surprised, folks.
If you don't know who this is, I can only describe him as one of the best lyricists to ever come out of the Midwest, period. Not just Chicago. But he's a very controversial figure, to say the least. He is, in fact, so influential that he's been dead for 10 years, and iShowSpeed, who is the #1 streamer on the planet, still called him his favorite rapper.
Damn. My favorite rapper? You probably don't know him. My favorite rapper is Young Papy. That's my favorite rapper.
In 2 years, he did more to establish his legacy in hip-hop than most rappers do in a decade. But as soon as he was hot, he was dead.
Cold nigga,
the Chicago police have a program.
He would have been like up there. It would have been him, Chief Keef, Dirk, Herb, like he would have been up there with them.
Called the Strategic Subject List. This is a list created by an algorithm that ranks the likelihood of certain people either being shot or carrying out a shooting. In a sense, you can say it predicts the likelihood of someone being murdered by how high they rank on the list.
Right.
And if that sounds a bit dystopian, that's because it is.
It is.
There's nothing the police can really do to protect someone on this list, and most people in the city had no idea that it even existed. But to my knowledge, it hasn't been used since 2020. But when Young Papy was killed in 2015, he had a score of 500, which put him near the very top of the list. And the list was correct. To this day, no one knows who killed him. And while it's easy to say that just one of his enemies caught him, one rumor was always constant, that he was backdoored. Now, this is common when someone is murdered in the city, but where people get lost is when they state that one of his friends somehow set him up, because he was with a close friend, Duddy, the night he got killed allegedly, but I don't believe that. Pappy's circle was so close that at least 2 of his friends faced murder charges just defending his name. So the real question is, did the Chicago police give his location to the men who wanted to kill him?
Now, I'm gonna tell you, he probably gonna explain some shit but I'm gonna tell you something I know. I know the police came to Pappy mama house after they killed him and laughed at her and said he like deserved to die, some crazy shit. I know that the police never really did no investigation on who killed him and why they killed him. None of that. They never did nothing. You feel me? And I know a few other things.
It's common for the friends of a guy who was murdered to say that their friend either wasn't killed by an enemy gang as a way to discredit that gang, or to say he was set up by someone if the death is too suspicious. What's not common, however, is for associates of the victim to insist that the police gave away his location to an enemy gang. Now, before you say this is highly unlikely, I'd like you to consider an important fact. This is Chicago. In 2007, a suburban police sergeant in the Chicago area, Drew Peterson, was accused of murder for hire when he tried to have the state's attorney killed while he was being accused of killing his own wife, a crime he would later be found guilty of. In that same year, Jerome Finnegan, a Chicago police officer from the Elite Special Operations Unit, was accused of trying to have another officer murdered who was supposedly going to be a witness against him in a federal investigation. And also in the same year, a former Chicago cop, Edward Leak, paid to have the limousine driver of his uncle's funeral home assassinated. And in 2014, the year before Pappy's murder, Officer Jason Van Dyke shot a man as he was walking away with his back turned, and despite the fact that the whole thing was captured on video, he lied and said the man lunged at him with a knife.
You ever had one of them days where everything seems to go wrong? I mean, you're just trying to grab a cup of coffee and BAM! You're tangled in a pile of boxes because the shelf was broken. And just like that, I realized sometimes accidents at work are more than just funny stories. They can actually change everything. Trying to handle a workplace injury on your own? It's like trying to fix the broken shelf yourself. More chaos, more headaches, and it's no guarantee that you'll get what you deserve. You got paperwork, insurance calls, and someone always telling you to wait. It's enough to make you wish you had a secret weapon. But here's the thing, there's a team of people that fights for people just like you. For over 35 years, Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm, has been winning cases when everybody else said it couldn't be done. In Florida, someone got $12 million after a work accident, even though the insurance was ready to offer just $350,000. In Pennsylvania, a worker was awarded $26 million, which was 40 times the initial offer. These are not just numbers. They're real victories for real people, all thanks to the team that fights hard for justice. More than 1,000 attorneys across all 50 states, like a legal squad ready to jump into action. Yeah. They've recovered over $25 billion for clients. And they have a long history of helping workers get what they're owed. Because when you're injured at work, you shouldn't have to go at it alone. You can just click the link below or the QR code that's on your screen. No endless waits or confusing forms. Just a quick way to start protecting your rights today. So if you had an accident on the job, do not risk doing it alone. You can check out Morgan & Morgan, because even in the toughest workplace accidents, a strong team makes all the difference. And trust me, there's a reason why they're America's largest injury law firm. It's because they fight for the people just like you.
A story that was quickly disproven, and the officer was found guilty.
It took a long time for him to go to jail for that too. One of my homies from Kenwood, the person he killed was his cousin.
Of second-degree murder, but he only served 3 years before being released. Now, although there are good cops in Chicago, there are many gangs of officers in the city that pretty much do whatever they want, including these cops that in an unmarked car just pulled up and shot a teenager for talking to them and then told responding officers that they were being shot at. And another officer in 2023 who pulled up off duty to a block on the west side and just started shooting at a group of guys that didn't even see him.
No cap, bro. That's a real story, bro. That nigga pulled up off duty to a random guys that was sitting there. They just sitting there chilling, smoking, and shot them down, folks. They ran to get their guns and they was shooting back like they thought it was the ops.
Duty to a block on the west side and just started shooting at a group of guys that didn't even see him, and then told responding officers that he was just defending himself when one of the guys shot back. And in case you were wondering, none of these cops face consequences for their actions. The last cop that started a shootout only left the force once he was found to be intoxicated on duty, and they still let him retire. So this is just a reality in Chicago. Some cops are simply more dangerous than gang members. And that brings us to why the police would want someone like Young Papy dead. Now, as I said earlier, he was near the top of the strategic subject list, which, just being that high on the list alone, would make his mere presence a safety risk. His presence was such a problem for the police and surrounding community that 2 people were killed for just standing near him. In February 2014, Pappy was standing near a McDonald's at 6700 North Clark Street, along with several other teens, as Senn High School is only about 6 minutes away. Now, to say Chicago gets cold would be an understatement. And this was a cold winter day, and snow covered the ground. But regardless, a masked gunman appeared, and even though Pappy was the intended target, 4 people ended up getting shot, including one that died, a 17-year-old boy. Pappy, however, escaped the situation unharmed. Then, months later, in July 2014, as his music was starting to blow up, Pappy was standing near a bus stop around West Devon Street in Glenwood and Rogers Park on the city's north side, while Will Lewis, a Guatemalan refugee who had come to the city and made a career for himself, stood and waited for the bus to arrive. But then, a man in his 30s, who had picked up 2 teenagers to do his dirty work, spotted Pappy near the bus stop, and he handed guns to the 2 teens in his car and instructed them to kill Pappy. but they missed and ended up killing Will Lewis.
Yep.
So in just 5 months, 5 people were shot and 2 killed
Two
just for
people
being
got
near
killed
him.
just for
And
being
all
close.
of this heavily contributes to the theory that police, possibly just the ones in the precinct around Pappy's area on the north side, might have wanted him out the way. The police
Yeah.
from Rogers Park to Uptown were very familiar with him, as he has so many mugshots you can actually watch him age just by flipping through them. And it was well known by authorities that he was involved in a gang war, and that these shootings that hurt other people were all targeting him. So let's try to look at this from the perspective of a disgruntled unit in a police precinct, and also the strange circumstances of his death. Now, 2 huge reasons the police appear suspicious in his death is because, according to his own brother, the police stopped by his mother's house after his death and told her that they were happy he was dead.
The police came by my mama's house to her face
Nah,
and
if
told her.
anybody, you know what I'm saying, he like, it was been rumors that this was going on before he even did this interview, but this when he did the Vlad TV interview, this had to be like 10 years ago, bro. Like 9 years ago or some shit like that.
They glad.
That's
Like,
taste
yeah, they
sad.
glad your son died.
And also, Pappy actually started his final day alive in jail.
Damn.
And I'm not sure just due to how many times
I
he
know
went
that.
to jail, but I believe this time he was in jail due to the aftermath of his album release party, where over 150 people were present at his house, and it caused such a disturbance that everyone ended up being arrested or at least detained. Another thing that's unclear is how much time passed between him bonding out of jail and
when he
being
died.
murdered. But it was all the same night. Now, there
Damn.
was a police station just 10 minutes away from where he was killed, and his last arrest, if it did have something to do with this party, it would have probably just been a petty disturbing the peace charge. So he might not have been booked into the county jail, which
Right.
would have been over 30 minutes away from where he was killed.
California,
For
yeah.
the killers to know where he was the night he got out, it would have taken some kind of inside knowledge. Whether that be a friend of the killer locked up in the same place as Pappy and then watching him get out, or a local police officer. It's not like unprofessional arrangements with the police are out of the ordinary. And as I said before in another video, a cop picking up a gang member, or even just a suspected gang member, and dropping them
Not
off in a
uncommon.
neighborhood they weren't supposed to be in did happen. And the way
A
the
lot
shooter
of times, bro. I be saying this shit, niggas be thinking I'm lying and shit. Like, man, you ain't from Chicago, you from the suburb. Like, I love that comment, by the way. I love when niggas say I'm not from Chicago. Like, bro, Chicago is like 3 million people that live there at all times. What's so hard to believe about me being from there? I don't understand. Oh, you talk to Chicago. Well, nigga, how the fuck I'm supposed to talk? If I talked like this, you'd say I don't even talk like I'm from Chicago. Like, y'all, like, motherfuckers be weird, but yeah, like, yeah, that shit happens, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you from Chicago and you grew up black, nigga, either you or some niggas you know have got picked up by the police that hate them and dropped them off in their ops territory. Even if you could not be no limit, but you standing on 78th and they just drop you off on
when
Lakeside.
Pappy was carried out was also very unorthodox. The witness says she saw a brand new car reversing on Lawrence Avenue coming from Kenmore. So the car was driving backwards from the street Pappy was killed on before the shooting. And all of this is happening while the back door on the left side of the car where the shooter was open the entire time. In all my years, I've never heard of a shooting happening in such a manner.
neither.
One thing that makes me believe the shooters already knew he was on Kenmore is obviously the fact that the shooter's door was already open. And he
Right.
didn't appear to be worried about being caught, as he was not described as wearing a mask or covering his face at all. Perhaps I was wrong about the direction the car was traveling. I considered that the witness never stated that she saw the car going down Kenmore, only that it was reversing on Lawrence coming from Kenmore, which are 2 intersecting streets. So it's possible the car was driving down Lawrence but missed Kenmore Avenue, so then it went in reverse,
Oh, shit,
as
it's
if
back
the
there.
shooters weren't from Uptown. Otherwise, they wouldn't have missed his turn if they knew he was there. But Uptown is another thing that's suspicious to me. His hood was in the Rogers Park neighborhood,
Rogers Park.
which is about 5 miles away from Uptown.
Right.
And that's not to say he didn't have any enemies in Uptown, as he's even mentioned it in one of his songs. But in Chicago,
Yeah.
most gangs engaged in a war, especially back then, were usually all in the same neighborhood. The shootings where bystanders were hit when Pappy was a target were both in Rogers Park, not Uptown. So could it be that the police in Rogers Park informed his enemies that he had just bonded out of jail and he was somewhere in the Uptown neighborhood?
Right.
Again, looking at it from the point of view of a police crew that was tired of dealing with Pappy. His music brought something to the north side they had never had. Drill music. And with this drill
It
music,
wasn't drilling wasn't going on. Drill music wasn't going on. The north side was the place you could go to get away from that shit. So I don't think it's too far fetched for them to get Young Papy killed and, you know, kind of put it together to get him up out of there because they feel like it's gonna make the neighborhood safer.
and the broadcasting of a war that Pappy only seemed to intensify, as the north side was not seen as very dangerous in comparison to other parts of the city. Even though gang wars have been going on there since the 70s with the white, Latino, and black gangs that inhabited the most densely populated part of the city. All of a sudden, you had a new generation of kids engaging in a war that far eclipsed anything that part of the city had seen since the St. Valentine's Day massacre carried out by the mob in Lincoln Park. And Pappy being near the top of the strategic subject list, the police would know that his death wouldn't be suspicious at all, and motive would be easy to establish regardless if the case was ever solved or not. In one way or another, it seemed if he didn't leave Chicago, he was going to end up dead one day. It's well known in Chicago that when a gang member is murdered in a neighborhood associated with their gang war, the case is far less likely to be solved than if that same gang member was killed in a more high-profile and upscale area of the city that has nothing to do with the gang war. If a police officer or a crew of them were to have some plot against him, this would be the perfect circumstance to get it done. And as for the police telling his mother that they were happy he was gone, that doesn't necessarily mean they had anything to do with it, but it does go toward the point that the Northside police saw him as a problem on the streets. And this list he was on, the mere existence of it, is proof that the Chicago police know that these guys didn't have long to live once it gets to a certain point. So why not just let it play out? The police wouldn't have had to give away his location. It was clearly easy to find him as he had been shot at multiple times. Could it be that a situation was set up so that when he finally was caught again, it would be in an area and at a time with less collateral damage? It's unfortunate that with the immense talent he had, Young Papy lived a lifestyle that simply wasn't sustainable. Do I believe the police somehow gave away his location to people that wanted to kill him? I'm not sure. Do I think it's possible that something like that could happen in the city of Chicago? Definitely.
Most definitely, bro. I'm telling you, bro. Rest in peace, Pappy.